Hi everyone, today we're working on a floral wreath that comes from my Frosty Gingers design. I've already traced out the heart design with a watercolor pencil and then pounced in some white just around the line to soften it up a little bit. And here I'm just going ahead and pouncing in some green with my oval mop brush. I do this in zigzag proportions so that it looks very natural throughout the wreath. As I'm doing this, you're going to notice that some areas I do a little bit lighter and some areas I do darker. Leave a little bit of white that can be shown through from the white that we pounced in before, because it's just going to add a little bit of light that can flow into your wreath. Using a filbert brush and loading it with some green and white, I'm going to go ahead in and add a little bit of leaves here and there. These are the miniature leaves. I blend it with the white and the green to soften it up just a little bit. And I'm just going to work around the wreath a little bit to add in some areas where those holes might be, and we'll be filling those up continually throughout with more leaves that are darker, more leaves that are lighter, and just work around the wreath. Using a number 6 flat, I'm going ahead and adding in those tiny flowers. First I start with the little buds, and then I work around the wreath, continually adding more petals to it as they dry. So you'll see me adding a little bit here and a little bit there as I work around the wreath. Just adding the beginning petals, and then once dry, I'll add the next layers. If you're wondering how I make these, if you've gone ahead and seen my shabby chic pattern, the videos and how I create those flowers are all in there. You can see how as I'm going around, I'm coming back to those other flowers that we started, and I'm just adding more layers, some darker, some lighter, and then we'll finally add the white flower petals right on the end. For the white petals, I'm just going in and adding just white to the paintbrush, and then I'm lightly brushing over some of the darker areas just to lighten them up a bit. I'll be doing a close-up so you'll be able to see what I'm talking about exactly later on in the video. Here's a real nice close-up part of the video that I wanted to tell you about. You can see the leaves and all the way around how I've lightened up some of the leaves, and here I'm pouncing in some white baby's breath to bring some light and some softness to the wreath. So here's an example of how I'm going back in with just the white and the filbert. I think this is a number 2, and I'm just adding in some very light white petals to soften up even further those little roses and buds that are inside of the design. You'll also see close up that there are some little pink areas, and I just used blending gel, just softly added those impressionistic flowers. Again, that can be found in the Shabby Chic Design pattern guide that I had done. You can find those on my Etsy shop. Here's an even closer view of some of those leaves and some of those petals. And you can see what I'm talking about with adding in that white. Gives it a little bit more depth, makes the wreath a little bit more interesting. Don't be afraid to go back in with that little royal mop and add in some more light and some baby's breath. You'll see here that I use both a larger mop and a smaller mop to go ahead and bring in even more light. And if you look closely, you can see that coming through into the wreath. Go around and just experiment and see where you'd like to add in more light and more softness. You can see here on the bottom right hand side here, and then up on the left hand part of the wreath, how I went ahead and added some more light on the outside of the wreath and on the inside. And then what I do is I blend it in even further with both sizes of the mops. Here I'm working the trundles. I'm just going to go ahead and use a 10-0 liner with some green, testing out how fine I want that line by misting a little bit on my palette, testing it out on the paper, and then using my pinky to control my pressure of how I want to use the paintbrush. The pinky balancing it on the tip of the surface helps me to go ahead and not add too much pressure, and that way I can really get some real fine lines in here and help me accent the floral wreath. Using that same paint and same liner, go ahead in and add your signature. Don't be afraid of adding your signature. Let it flow just like you did with the trundles, and you'll eventually get the hang of it. I'm going in and using the 10-0 liner to even accent further some deep, pointy leaves that are right next to the petals and the flowers, just to bring out my design a bit. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Be sure to check out my Facebook and Etsy, and we'll see you soon.